Hi everyone, this is Eric Martindale.
And Austin Luger.
And this is Let's Take 5, the bonus edition.
Ooh.
So we've been, as you know, if you've been listening, we've done Robert DeNiro was the artist that we focused on, and the whole point of the podcast was to pick an artist from the history of cinema and then take 5 films that they've done and analyze them and otherwise go through them. The last episode that we just did was Heat, so we're coming off that one. I'll just do the full lineup. The first one we started with was Godfather Part II, then we did The Deer Hunter, then we did Raging Bull, then we did Midnight Run, and then we just did Heat. So we decided to do a bonus episode for a few reasons. One's to talk about the films that we have covered as sort of like, you know, put a capstone on what we've experienced through these films, and also to use this as the platform to announce the next artist that we will be doing. So I guess I should lead off with a question here. And was there anything that you learned from Robert De Niro or appreciated more from running through these films this time, Austin? Or
you know, he had a lot more range than I remembered.
Yeah.
Which made me very happy because we keep talking about how we're now kind of stuck in the parody portion of Robert De Niro, where he's playing, you know, the guy who's going to, you know, rub his chin like this and go, hey, you know, it's that.
Yeah, like a shtick. Like,
yeah, and every movie we watched really kind of showed a new performance that was, sometimes it was the extreme method acting where he would try to replicate the exact vocal patterns of Marlon Brando, to just really learning the character. I read that he got a 4-page memo from Michael Mann to really kind of study up for his character of all the techniques about it. So he didn't have to go full method acting, but he always gave such consideration to these 5 performances.
You know, and it wasn't something that, like, you know, from the beginning of his career, obviously he was doing a lot of method acting early, but it wasn't something that he necessarily phoned in later. I mean, there is a certain point where you're going to run into the parody of De Niro. And as we addressed in the last episode, in Heat, you're going to run into Pacino as well. And a lot of famous actors ends up being like that.
This happens.
I mean, yeah, it does. And Marlon Brando is considered one of the greatest actors alive. You know, at the very least, you can look at De Niro's filmography and say he made a lot more good films than Brando made. So at the very least, you know, it's not like
Brando literally made a movie called The Freshman.
Yeah. So it's like I don't know. So with De Niro, like even in 1980, you know, he went full method actor with Jake LaMotta and put on, you know, all kinds of weight for the end of that. So, I mean, this is a guy that obviously cared about the craft and cared about what he's doing. So when we say that he ends up parodying himself, it's not to take away anything from him without just pointing out that now it's, you know, a Robert De Niro impersonator does Robert De Niro as well as Robert De Niro does Robert De Niro. Does that make sense?
But I think even with his later films, there are occasional gems. In the last episode, Nick Rogers mentioned the work he's done with Russell. David Russell, Jesus. I was going backwards.
Russell David.
Russell Davies, you know, the guy who made Doctor Who. No, David O. Russell. And I really like his performance in Silver Linings Playbook.
Yeah.
But only for, like, a certain handful of scenes. Like, the really kind of the big, you know, climax escalation thing when the entire family is yelling at each other.
Yeah.
You get to have some really kind of great moments of Robert De Niro apologizing in a way where Jennifer Lawrence is able to use his words against him for superstitions, that you kind of really see the level that the character is obsessed about these things, how worried it makes him, but when she can use that illogical logic against him, that's when he can now respect from people in the room. Like, he was doing a lot in that scene that I really liked.
No, he's really good, and that's one of the better movies he's been in since this phase hit that we're talking about. You know, that's the sort of movie that if he hadn't already won an Academy Award for, he might have won his, you know,
his Paul
honorary, his Paul Newman or his Morgan Freeman supporting actor type of thing for. He just is not featured in the movie enough. I get to do on the podcast.
I think he was nominated.
No, I know he was nominated, but I'm saying he probably would have won it.
Sure,
like just because they tend to do that.
Yeah, they do.
I feel like I'm putting too much stock in the Academy.
We do.
It had to be brought up with Raging Bull because that was so infamous, and I'm glad that we did talk about that because I had a chance to listen to us talk about that before, and for some reason I didn't bring up. Scorsese lost too.
Yeah,
like I didn't really touch on that. I brought up how Joe Pesci lost and the movie lost, but Scorsese lost too, which is weird to Robert Redford.
Yep.
But anyway, you said there was one thing, speaking of that podcast that you brought up, you seem to appreciate Raging Bull more this.
That keeps happening. I've seen it now 3 times, and it's still not my favorite Scorsese's, simply because I just never connect really to films about raw masculinity like that. But I just keep respecting...
Even if it's a critique of it?
It works for me better in Westerns. I don't know why, because I think...
But Westerns, you're dealing with archetypes.
Yeah.
This is a full three-dimensional human being.
Right.
So I think that...
Yeah, it's very different, and I respect the film more each time, and I like the film a lot now. I really just like him in it, because I was able to see more, especially watching it right after The Deer Hunter. We talked about the difference between intelligent and dumb characters he plays. How he kind of takes them both seriously in the exact same way. I thought that's really impressive to do.
Yeah.
He never belittles the character.
I want to talk to... I know talking about focusing specifically on Raging Bull here, but that's a movie that on several polls, and Roger Ebert often referenced it, that considered the best film of the 80s.
Yeah.
And I love that film too. I think it is one of the best movies ever made. But I've never run into anyone else that feels that way. And I want to have that conversation with them to say, what works for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the character studies that lend themselves to memorability or something, because I think that There Will Be Blood is the best movie I've seen in the past 20 years too. So I don't know what that's about, but they all seem, every character he plays, or in the movies that we covered, they're all these characters that really, you can really meaty. You can really, these are all like sort of like awesome, like dream type of roles for like to play, right?
And that would include movies that we did not cover. We did not cover, we only did one Scorsese film, which was Bit by Design. Mean Streets. I mean, he has an opening scene without dialogue, but then when he has his first dialogue scene, it's almost 5 minutes straight of him rambling about why he's late for his payments.
I showed that scene to my girlfriend just to say, look how awesome Robert De Niro was back then. Not that he's not now, but just like, he's so young.
Yeah.
He's so young there. He's so good. I mean, it's easy to see what people saw in him. You know what I mean?
And then you have the complete opposite in Taxi Driver, where he is very quiet and he's not deliberate with his words because he's not that mentally attuned to do that. He's just, that performance is very, very unnerving, and De Niro makes that film uncomfortable. Scorsese makes it dirty and gross, but De Niro makes it really uncomfortable.
Yeah, but unfortunately, neither of them make it very good.
Oh, what? What?
No, that is one of the... For some reason, I feel like anytime you're talking film with people, when you... And it's not just this is a Robert De Niro thing. I think it's probably a more Scorsese thing. When you're talking about Scorsese's films, the two movies you always end up hearing are overrated. I feel like the two pictures that you hear that about is always Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, and it's always one or the other. There's a whole group of people that think Taxi Driver is overrated. There's a whole group of people that think Raging Bull is overrated. I happen to be in that class that thinks that about Taxi Driver.
And I transitioned to Goodfellas is the overrated one.
That one you don't hear as much.
I am unique.
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm hearing that more now.
Oh, really?
Like, sort of retroactively. I mean, people... I've always had problems with the third act of the film. I don't have problems with Ray Liotta, which
I hate Ray Liotta in that movie.
I know, which is it's just crazy to me. But whatever.
I will vow this now. We will never do Ray Liotta as a take 5.
Well, you have actors that... I mean, everyone has actors that, for whatever reason, they just annoy them when they're on film.
Mine's Ray Liotta.
Mine's Eric Bana. I don't know why. When that guy...
And you love Munich.
I do. It's really weird. I know. I think Munich is great more than I love it. I think.
Sure.
Like you'll run into that with films sometimes too. Like, I think the great Casablanca versus Citizen Kane debate comes down to that. Like, which one do you love more? Which one's greater? You know what I mean? Like, that's I love Casablanca more, but Citizen Kane's the greater film.
I think I kind of agree with that.
Yeah. So, like, that's a debate I constantly have about movies. And unfortunately, a lot of times comedies get the short end of the stick when you have that debate. But
well, we keep downplaying De Niro's comedies. We love Midnight Run, but we have casually kind of dismissed Meet the Parents and Analyze This. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I think those two movies are fine.
Yeah.
But their sequels are terrible. Analyze That. Meet the Fockers. I did not see Little Fockers, so I missed the end of the trilogy.
Yeah, I don't care to see them. I have not seen Little Fockers. I haven't seen Meet the Fockers. I've seen Meet the Parents. I'm not a huge fan of that. I didn't like Analyze This. Which one came first?
Analyze This.
This came first. Yeah, that's the one I've seen. I don't like it. So, and that's when you get into that parody era.
And that's the only memorable thing about Analyze That is when he's in the mental asylum, he sings "I Feel Pretty" from West Side Story.
Yeah,
and that's just like the whole joke is Robert De Niro is doing that,
which is the same thing with Stardust, which is unfortunate because Stardust is look at Robert De Niro in a tutu.
It is in a way,
it's funny and he's great at it, but there's a wink to the camera.
But I think a bit in the casting of it because that character existed in the book format.
For sure.
So having De Niro do it, but De Niro still
Goodfellas existed as a book too.
Sure.
You could, so it's like, but sort of Raging Bull.
When I remember, I haven't seen Stardust in a while, but there's a moment when he kind of reveals to his crew that he's not the super butch pirate that he is. There is a fear in his eyes. I kind of remember that De Niro. He knows he's in a very silly movie that is high concept and fantasy, but I think in those moments he did take it seriously, and I think you're watching him have fun, which can look like ham a lot of times, but I think in this movie at least, I think he kind of respected the source material.
I think this was around, or at least close to the time when De Niro came out, that his father was a closeted homosexual as well.
I never knew that.
So that I think probably...
Did he make a documentary about his dad?
I don't know if he... Did he? I know he... I don't know if it was in a documentary, but I remember him... I think actually it was. And he kind of came out and said that, his dad was gay.
Yeah.
Very private about it, which he always thought, I guess, was kind of tragic that his dad would be. But there's probably a little bit of that in Stardust as well. I think kind of also what hurt De Niro as far as the... as far as the parody is concerned, is that Casino comes out right after Goodfellas. It's a Martin Scorsese movie featuring Joe Pesci playing the same character he played in the movie before.
Same writer as Goodfellas.
Same writer as Goodfellas. You got the voiceovers very similar, and actually that's part of why I don't like Casino is because the voiceover shared. Sharon Stone has like random lines as voiceover, and Joe Pesci gives voiceover in the film, and he gets killed during his voiceover, which I think is, well, who are you telling the story to? You're dead. So that's kind of weird to me. And
I just want to put a pin on that moment as foreshadowing for something.
I know what you're going to say, and
I'll say it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's coming up momentarily, which. He's not interrupted in the... I mean, American Beauty is
similar thing.
Is the same thing, too. But he's literally interrupted in his voiceover.
It was a gimmick.
Yeah, it's gimmicky, and I don't like it. But I think because he did Casino, which is it's a good, bad movie.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it. And maybe that's because I'm judging it with the rest of Scorsese's work. But you immediately are playing the same... You're doing the same shit, and even if it's good... You're kind of... Is it weird that he's kind of typecasting himself this late in his career? I mean, it almost is like Goodfellas 2, like Luke Skywalker as in Empire Strikes Back. You know what I mean? It's weird.
Well, that was... After so many films together, that was the last one he made with Scorsese.
Yeah.
And it is, I think, finally happening now that Scorsese's next film, The Irishman, will star Robert De Niro again. And that's kind of exciting after... over a decade, it seems like.
It's been enough time now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're old now.
Yeah. And then in 20 years, we can have them do the same thing with Leonardo DiCaprio when he comes back to him. But...
They're still alive.
If a bear doesn't get him. Easy joke. That was terrible. I regret that. Yeah. Anyhow.
We'll edit it out in post.
We'll see if I do. We'll find out together. But, have you seen the film Awakenings? It's fine. It's kind of a quieter film, but I think he may have been nominated for it. It's a bonus episode. We don't do as much research for this.
Yeah.
But It's really good. It was kind of in the kind of height of his like very kind of methody 80s time, but he plays someone who's comatose, and a kind of a new kind of treatment kind of brings him out of a coma for the first time in forever. Mm-hmm. And Robin Williams is the doctor, and the moments they kind of share together are so good, and it's a non-showy De Niro performance.
I never got De Niro showy. Okay. Not in the way Pacino is showy. Pacino
gets very showy.
Yeah, and to his detriment. I mean, it's like I said in the Heat episode where Pacino is established by the end of the film as if there is a protagonist, he is our protagonist. And even though I know arguments can be made against that, but I could only take the movie as seriously as Pacino was taking the film, and it was like, and even though the performance is good, it's definitely contrast with what the serious tone that the movie is taking. Whereas De Niro, I think he always fits in I don't think he's ever doing too much. I think he's always fitting, for the most part, with the world in a way that I don't think Pacino does, for instance.
Sure. That makes sense. I think I've seen Pacino films where you can tell he's bored and has decided to do his own thing.
That's what I felt like Heat was.
I think, sadly, I think he was a bit on brand for what Michael Mann wanted. I think he just gave more than what he wanted, perhaps. But I've seen films like 88 Minutes for him, where it's just like, first off, what are you doing in this film? Why is any of this happening?
Yeah.
And what are you doing in this film? And I guess I never really felt that for De Niro, even for his bad films. As mentioned in the last episode, I don't really remember Rocky and Bullwinkle.
The Adventures of Rocky.
The Adventures of Rocky. How dare I?
Come on, man.
Discredit this film. But I think when he's doing that, De Niro knows what he's doing and gives what is necessary. I mean, in Meet the Parents, he is kind of playing... Ben Stiller is the straight man, and he's almost the guy who thinks he's the straight man in a scene.
Yeah, that's interesting. Ben Stiller's actually good when he is a straight man.
Oh, he actually is a good actor.
I know. Yeah. See Royal Tenenbaums.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, wow, that just made me think Gene Hackman. He'll be one day.
We'll definitely do Gene Hackman.
But anyway, yeah, I don't know. So, in closing, and we've said this to death, but it is important that Robert De Niro be remembered not just as the guy from Goodfellas, or not even that anymore so much as, I guess, because Joe Pesci went to parody himself too.
Sure.
It's almost, I really almost feel like because Casino came so close up, because now you got 8 heads in a duffel bag or whatever, with Pesci, is like playing that same guy, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just like those films. I don't know. I really don't. I can't venture a hypothesis. It's just that.
Well, there's also the problem that Hollywood doesn't write as many older roles.
Well, that's a huge problem. That's a whole nother conversation.
So he's at an age now where it's how many roles that are really great do you get at this age?
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's, you would feel like De Niro would be exempt from that, but
apparently he isn't.
Or at the very least, he wants to play easy, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's at a full career.
Yeah, he is, and a very, very, very good one.
Yeah. So that wraps up Robert De Niro as our first person we took 5 for.
So Austin, I'm going to kick this to you because you're going to be the one to do. You picked this, so
we're going to take turns picking this.
Yes. So the idea when we move to the next person is that he's picking one, I'm picking one, vice versa, and we let off De Niro, I think, as more of a consensus.
A bit, yeah.
And so now you go first here. Who are we doing?
We are going to do perhaps one of the greatest directors of all time, Billy Wilder.
Man, you really milked it there.
Damn straight. I did a pause thinking, who could it be?
We're going to add a drum roll in post.
You really give me more credit for editing this podcast.
So yeah, Billy Wilder.
Billy Wilder. And the 5 that we decided upon were, number 1 is Ninotchka, then Sunset Boulevard, Ace in the Hole, Some Like It Hot, and The Apartment. Great movies. Those are great movies. And so we will start with Ninotchka this Friday, which is the only one of the 5 he did not direct. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into that very soon. That's exciting.
Yeah, he was the screenwriter.
Screenwriter
For the film. So, alrighty. Well, I think that pretty much wraps us up. Austin, where can we find you at?
We can find this podcast at theartimmortal.com. You can email us at letstake5@theartimmortal.com. You can follow our escapades on Twitter, along with my other podcast, The Immortals, at The Immortals Pod. And yeah, my other podcast, which I mentioned a lot. So,
if you want to catch me at Constant Diversion. That's Constant Diversion. I don't want to spell it because it's long.
Yeah.
And that's the YouTube page. And on there, I apply the same matters of critique we're doing here, and I just apply it to video games. So other popular media.
Yep.
So.
And we do have a comment section at The Art Immortal, and every one of these episodes has its own page. So please, if you have your thoughts on Robert DeNiro, we would love to hear them, and we'd love to start a discussion. And get excited for Billy Wilder coming out in just 2 days.
Oh, man. It's getting real hot in here.
I'm liking it hot, though.
Yeah, okay. I set you up for that one. Come on, man.
You are welcome.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
The winner is Robert De Niro in The Godfather.
Accepting the award for Robert De Niro is the producer-director of The Godfather Part II, Mr. Francis Ford Coppola.
Well, I'm happy that one of my boys made it. I think this is a very richly deserved award. I think Robert De Niro is an extraordinary actor, and he is going to enrich the films that are made for years to come. And I thank you on his behalf.